I want to start this story the same way I would if we were sitting together in a quiet cafe, just you and me, with warm drinks on the table and no rush to be anywhere else. Because what I'm about to share isn't dramatic. It's not some life-changing moment that looks good in a movie. It's just real. It happened on a normal evening, the kind that feels like every other day. I had just come home from work, completely drained, and I did what I always did. Dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and checked my bank account without even thinking. And there it was. That same message. That same sinking feeling. That same quiet voice in my head saying, "You said you'd fix this. But here you are again." And for the first time, I didn't brush it off. I didn't pretend I was fine. I didn't laugh it away like I usually do. I just sat down, right there on the floor, next to the door, with my back against the wall. And I thought, okay, something's wrong, and I can't keep pretending it isn't. You know how sometimes you're tired because it's been a long day? That normal kind of tired? But then there's another kind. The kind that comes from living the same problem over and over until your heart gets tired too. That was the tired I felt that day. I wasn't exhausted from work. I was exhausted from myself. From the way I kept promising next month will be better. From the way I kept avoiding looking at the real problem. From the way I acted like money was something that would magically fix itself as I got older. I stared at the wall for a long time, not thinking deeply, not planning anything, just letting myself feel how much I didn't want this version of my life anymore. I remember hearing people say, just save more, just spend less, just budget. It always felt so simple when other people said it, but when it came to my own life, none of it felt simple. Life gets messy. Temptations are everywhere. Bills come out of nowhere. People invite you to things you don't want to miss. Stress pushes you to buy things that make you feel better for 5 minutes. And somewhere along the way, you realize you're not actually living with money. You're fighting with it. That evening, I realized something I wish someone had told me sooner. Most people don't struggle with money because they're irresponsible. They struggle because no one ever taught them how to stop the cycle. And that's where I was. Not stupid, not careless, just stuck in a cycle I never learned how to escape. I won't lie to you. That evening didn't feel like a breakthrough. It didn't feel empowering or inspiring. It felt sad, but in a strangely comforting way. Sad, because I finally admitted that I wasn't okay. Comforting because I finally stopped lying to myself. There's something healing about honesty, even when it hurts. I wasn't blaming myself. I wasn't beating myself up. I was just accepting. And acceptance isn't weakness, it's the first step toward change, even if you don't know how to change yet. As I sat there on the floor, a random memory floated into my mind. Something a friend told me years ago. We were talking about money, which back then we barely understood. And he said, "It's never the big things that break you. It's the tiny habits you don't even notice." At the time, I didn't take it seriously. I thought he was being dramatic. But suddenly, that sentence made sense in a way it never had before. It wasn't the big purchases that kept hurting me. It wasn't emergencies. It wasn't bad luck. It was the little habits. The ones that felt harmless. The ones I ignored. The ones I repeated every day without even thinking. And I realized something that honestly made my chest tighten. My habits were silently shaping the life I was living. And I hadn't even noticed. If you and I were sitting together right now, I'd probably laugh a little and say, "You know what's funny? I used to think my financial problems were temporary. Just a phase. Just something that would fix itself." But the truth is, problems don't disappear just because we ignore them. They grow quietly, slowly, patiently, like weeds in a garden you keep promising to take care of next weekend. That night was the first time I really looked at the garden of my life and admitted, okay, it's time to clean this up. Not because someone forced me, not because a disaster happened, not because I felt motivated, but because I finally cared about myself enough to stop living on autopilot. Here's the part I want you to hear clearly. Change didn't start for me with a decision, or a plan, or motivation. It started with a feeling, a quiet, soft, simple feeling. I don't want my life to stay like this. That was it. That tiny feeling became the doorway to the 5 money habits that eventually changed everything for me. Not overnight, not magically, not perfectly, but gently, realistically, and in a way that made sense for someone like me. Someone who wasn't looking for a miracle, just looking for stability, clarity, and peace. But before I discovered those habits, all I had was that moment on the floor. Tired, honest, and ready to stop avoiding my own reflection. Okay, friend, I want to tell you about the first habit that changed my life. But before that, can we be real for a moment? Because this habit didn't come to me from a book or a podcast or some fancy financial guru. It came from one of the most honest conversations I ever had, a conversation with myself. And if I'm being honest with you, it wasn't a comfortable one. It was awkward. It was messy. It felt like sitting across from someone you've avoided for years. But that conversation, it's the reason everything else started to shift. So let me tell you exactly what happened. Because you can't change what you refuse to see. And for years, I kept my eyes closed, hoping things would magically get better. Spoiler, they didn't. So that night, I took a deep breath and I faced the truth. Not to punish myself, not to make myself feel small, but to stop lying to myself about where I was. Here's the funny thing. I expected fear. I expected panic. I expected that heavy feeling in the chest. You know the one. But what I didn't expect was relief. Real relief. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't guessing. I wasn't imagining the worst. I wasn't avoiding anything. I finally knew the truth. And you know what? The truth, while uncomfortable, is never as scary as our imagination. It's like turning on the light in a dark room. The mess is still there, but at least you can see where to start. And that feeling, that clarity, is what gave birth to habit number 1. Let me tell you something quietly but truthfully. This habit didn't make me rich overnight. It didn't solve all my problems. It didn't magically fix my finances. But it gave me something much more important: control, understanding, confidence, peace. And the habit is so simple. Every week, I check in with my money. Just 10 to 15 minutes. No spreadsheets unless I feel like it. No strict rules. No pressure to be perfect. I simply sit down, usually with a drink in hand, and ask myself, okay, where am I right now? I look at what came in. I look at what went out. And I see if the direction I'm moving feels right. That's all. But doing this every week changed something inside me. Because when you stop avoiding your money, you stop feeling afraid of it. And when you stop feeling afraid, you start making better decisions. Naturally, gently, without forcing anything. After a few weeks, I noticed something small but powerful. I didn't feel stressed anymore when I checked my accounts. I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel shame. I felt calm, in control, adult in the best way. And that's when I realized you don't need to fix everything to feel better. You just need to stop hiding from it. That weekly check-in became the first real step toward a different life. A life where I wasn't surviving anymore, but slowly, quietly, intentionally, taking back control. And that's why habit number 1 matters so much. It's simple, it's gentle, it's human. It's the moment you finally tell yourself, I'm here, I'm trying, and that's enough to begin. Let me share something honest with you. For the longest time, I thought my problem was that I spent too much. I blamed myself for every coffee, every delivery meal, every small thing that made life a little easier. I kept thinking, if I could just stop spending on unnecessary things, I'd be fine. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true, because I didn't even know where my money was actually going. Sure, I knew the big bills: rent, utilities, groceries. But the rest? The tiny purchases? The only $5 it's nothing moments? I didn't track them. I didn't think about them. I didn't even remember them. And that's when it hit me. The danger wasn't the spending, it was the not knowing. Because here's the thing, you can't fix what you can't see. I remember one afternoon sitting at a quiet cafe with my notebook, trying to figure out why I was always short at the end of the month. So I opened my bank statement, and as I scrolled, I noticed something strange. Most of the money I thought I was spending on big things was actually slowly leaking away in tiny, invisible purchases. A snack here, a ride there, a random online order, a subscription I forgot to cancel. Little things that didn't matter until they added up. And in that moment, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel guilty. I just thought, ooh, okay, so this is what's been happening. It was like finally turning on a flashlight in a dark corner of my finances where all the little spending habits had been hiding. And that simple clarity, that gentle awareness, became the foundation of the second habit that changed my life. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, oh no, tracking expenses sounds painful, let me tell you something. I track my spending in the easiest, laziest, most human-friendly way possible. No complicated budgets, no strict categories, no judgment, just awareness. Here's exactly how I do it. Every time I spend money, no matter how small, I open a simple note on my phone and I write what I bought, how much it cost, and most importantly, how it made me feel. And honestly, that last part is the real magic. Because sometimes I'd write something like $4, iced coffee, honestly made my morning better. And that felt good, worth it. But other times I'd write $12, random online purchase. Don't even know why I bought this. And seeing that written down made me so much more mindful the next time. It wasn't about restricting myself. It wasn't about being good or bad. It was simply understanding my own patterns. And over time, those patterns became impossible to ignore. I realized which purchases truly brought me joy. I noticed which ones were purely emotional. I saw where I was wasting money without meaning to. I learned what actually mattered to me and what didn't. And the best part? Tracking didn't make me feel deprived. It made me feel in control, like I was finally steering the wheel instead of letting my impulses drive my financial life. And slowly, without even forcing it, my spending started to change. Not because I was trying so hard to spend less, but because I was finally spending with awareness. I stopped buying things out of boredom. I stopped shopping to feel better. I stopped spending just because something was cheap. And I started choosing, intentionally, clearly, calmly. This wasn't a dramatic change, it was a gentle shift. The kind that sneaks up on you until one day you realize, wow, I actually know where my money goes now, and it feels good. That's habit number 2. Not budgeting, not restricting, just looking closely enough to make decisions that feel aligned with who you want to become. Habit number 3, automate the small wins. Here's what I started doing, and it's so simple, I wish someone had told me sooner. Set up automatic transfers, even small ones, to your savings every time you get paid. Not $500, not a huge chunk, just something small that doesn't hurt your daily life. For me, it started with $50 a paycheck, then $100, then $200. I didn't even feel it leaving my checking account because I wasn't thinking of it as losing money. I thought of it as planting seeds for the future. And here's the secret. The consistency is what matters more than the amount. Small, repeated actions build momentum. Small wins build confidence. Small wins make you feel in control. It's the same principle as those tiny weekly check-ins, but now applied to building security, not just awareness. Habit number 4. Every dollar has a job. Here's what I began doing, And I promise, it's simple, nothing fancy. Every dollar I earn gets a job. That doesn't mean I don't spend money. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy life. It doesn't mean I'm counting pennies every second. It means I decide in advance what each dollar is for. Some for necessities, rent, bills, groceries. Some for fun, coffee, movies, small treats. Some for saving, even tiny amounts count. Some for investing or building my future. That's it. I literally just assign a purpose to my money. And here's the thing. When you do that consistently, everything feels different. Suddenly, spending money doesn't feel scary. Saving money doesn't feel impossible. Investing money doesn't feel intimidating. Because every dollar has a role. And when every dollar has a role, you stop feeling like life is a scramble. You stop reacting to money. You start directing it. Habit number 5, put money into your growth. First, this habit is simple but powerful. Every month, set aside a portion of your money to invest in yourself. Not stocks or crypto, although that can come later. Not huge risky bets, just yourself. It could be books that teach you new skills, online courses or workshops, certifications that boost your career, health, fitness or wellness programs, tools that help you work smarter, not harder. The point is this, you're buying your future self. And friend, let me tell you something, this is the game changer. Because when you invest in yourself, you're no longer a passive participant in life. You're active, you're building, you're moving forward. And the confidence that comes from that? It's priceless. Look, I get it. Saving money and checking your spending are habits that feel safe. They're practical, they feel responsible. But investing in yourself? That can feel uncomfortable. Scary even, because it requires trust. Trust that the time and money you spend on yourself now will pay off later. Trust that you're worth it. Trust that your future matters. And that's why so many people skip this habit. They save, they budget, they plan, but they forget the most important part, themselves. But the reality is simple. Your skills, knowledge, health, and mindset are the real foundation of financial freedom. No number in a bank account can replace what you build in yourself. No budget can teach you confidence. No spreadsheet can teach you creativity. Friend, let's take a step back together for a moment. Remember when I started this story? Sitting on the floor, tired, frustrated, overwhelmed by numbers on a screen? I felt stuck, lost. Like no matter what I did, I couldn't catch up. But here's what I've realized looking back. I wasn't stuck because life was unfair. I wasn't stuck because I didn't work hard enough. I was stuck because I didn't have habits that truly supported me. Habits that made money feel manageable. Habits that made life feel like something I could direct, not just endure. And now, after building these 5 habits, I can honestly say everything changed. Not instantly, not magically, but steadily, slowly, surely. Let's review them one by one, like we're talking over coffee, and I want you to see how they fit together. Weekly check-ins. I learned to face the truth about where I was, without shame, without panic. Tracking spending. I noticed patterns I had ignored for years and understood how to spend with intention. Saving small, consistent wins, I built confidence and security without feeling deprived. Giving every dollar a job, I regained control and made money work for me, not the other way around. Investing in myself, I grew my skills, mindset, and opportunities, creating a foundation for long-term freedom. Do you see the connection? It's not about numbers. It's not about luck. It's about conscious, repeated choices that slowly shape your life. Here's the best part, friend. You reach a point, slowly, quietly, almost without noticing, where you stop being afraid of money. You stop panicking when bills come. You stop feeling guilty when you spend. You start making decisions from a place of clarity and intention. You start to feel freedom. Not the flashy, dramatic kind, but the quiet, powerful kind that comes from knowing, I can handle this. I am capable. I am in charge of my life. And that, honestly, is what all the habits add up to. Freedom, confidence, control, peace. Friend, I'm sharing this story not because I'm special. I'm sharing it because this is possible for you too. I wasn't born rich. I didn't have secret knowledge. I didn't suddenly get lucky. I just started. With honesty, with awareness, with small, intentional habits. And those habits quietly rebuilt my confidence, my security, and my freedom. And that's the truth I want you to take away. Change doesn't come all at once. It comes habit by habit, choice by choice, step by step. Because the life you want, calmer, freer, more confident, is not out of reach. It's built one habit at a time, quietly, steadily, intentionally. And that, my friend, is how 5 simple habits quietly change everything. If this video helped you even a little, hit subscribe and join our journey. Let's grow smarter, stronger, and more confident with our money together. Your next small step could change everything. Subscribe now.